Yeah, welcome very, very much to Conversation. For this second, an old friend of mine is a fellow who's been around the television productions and so forth, and following the events, always with a sense of encouraging from his heart, if I may say so, a peaceful world which we could all long for. That's Paul Slack, as he had Milestone broadcast productions, a major production film, and he's always been involved with UN and other issues, and with the issues of, as I say, a peaceful world. Paul, so good to see you. I understand you got another event coming up.
We do, Harold. It's great to be here. Thank you so much.
You know that Paul has got another event. I mean, you're always at an event, always cooking and everything. And I want to get you to share with that and so forth. But maybe we were just chatting before this program, and we got the famous sign of the Earth and everything, and we brought up it's only another year or so, and also the event that's coming up in the short term. Unfortunately, this will air after the event and everything. But the Woodstock, and we got a picture of the the famous picture of the Earth and so forth. And you said you reminded me, it's only 30 years now before is now coming up to the 30th anniversary.
50th anniversary.
It can't be the 50th.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Well, it's 1969 to 2019, 50th anniversary.
Wow.
I confused you because I said we did the 20th anniversary with Richie Havens.
Yeah.
So now it's 30 years after that, 50 years since Woodstock.
It just.
And you went to Woodstock.
Oh, we were Woodstock in spades, yeah, because Woodstock upstate is where Bobby Dylan was hanging out. That's what made it such a big draw at that time, because that was a major moment in the evolution of events on this planet. Was about that year 1969. I think there's a good chance that period of time, 1969, 70, is going to, in the fullness of time, I don't know, it might not be, depends on the kind of nature of really qualitative change that might be occurring here toward the end of our tenure and everything. But in general, for the planet, it's very likely to end up with the idea of it being year one, that it was a whole new thing that was becoming, like there was a period before the year one at the time of Jesus, but that we measure time from that. But they'll measure time in the future in terms of the way the Earth is evolving and the societal and political development and everything, that they will find there were events that will be discovered that will make 1969 year one.
I have an idea, Joe.
Okay.
Harold?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, we have a movie.
Yeah.
All right, we have a trailer for a movie.
Yeah, right.
And it's called Woodstock Forever, Peace, Love, and Hope. Okay, this is what we've called it because I got involved with the 20th anniversary of Woodstock with Richie Havens.
Yeah.
And he
Richie
came to me.
Havens was great.
He was a great guy.
Yeah.
And I think what we're going to do is show that right up front here because
You wanna do that?
I'll
Okay,
tell you
we
why.
can.
It is really it leans itself. It goes exactly to what you just said. Hear it from Richie. This is now the 20th anniversary. 30 years ago in Times Square, which is where we conduct our Peace Day, of which we had on September 21st, the International Day of Peace, the same location. So let's watch that video.
This is from the 20th anniversary.
This is what this is actually a thank you.
Milestone
This is
Broadcast
let's watch it.
Okay,
Corporation,
let's go.
a one-world company, presents Woodstock Forever, Peace, Love, and Hope.
Freedom, 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 freedom. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child. Sometimes I feel like a motherless child.
When the children of light stand up together, then the rainbow light will ignite forever.
Hi,
What's your name?
Billy Oliver Sparks.
Billy Oliver Sparks.
Yes.
And what are you doing here today, Billy?
We're here from the town of Woodstock to commemorate the 20th anniversary and the original spirit of peace, love, and music, a new generation of commitment with the next generation that we want to pass a message to of involvement with the music and with the involvement with the government.
And what do you plan to do here today to commemorate that?
We're presenting Richie Havens, who was the lead artist, the first artist on the stage at the start of the original concert, with branches that we brought from the original festival site. The people of the town of Bethel were very encouraged that what happened there was not going to be forgotten. It was a lot more than drugs, sex, and rock and roll. It was about a nation coming together for 3 days around music in a peaceful way. And we're giving that message to the next generation so that they'll understand the importance of working together for change, involvement in their own lives. Unfortunately, the Senate was in session. One of our band members, Juma Sultan, was the drummer for Jimi Hendrix at the original festival. So we carry the cross-generational message with us. Juma's in his late 40s, our keyboard player is 17. That's about bridging gaps and bringing people together.
Sure
again.
is.
Right.
Okay, thanks, Billy. Who
Thank
else
you.
do we have here? Hi. What's your name?
Matthew Woodstock Stang.
Matthew Woodstock Sang. Let me guess, you were named after Woodstock.
The bird. It was, my mom named me that. It's on my birth certificate, so.
But you were too young to have been at Woodstock. Were your parents at Woodstock?
My dad was.
Your dad was?
For
Yeah.
about 3 hours.
Oh, yeah? And what do you have here?
Original twigs from the Woodstock site in Bethel.
Yeah, and what does Woodstock mean to you? How old are you, Matthew?
9.
You're 9? Does Woodstock mean anything to you, or is it just something you've heard people talk about?
Well, I know it was a lot of rock and roll, fun, and a lot of people coming together and partying.
Coming together and partying, okay. All right, thanks, Matthew.
My feeling is that what is happening in this 20th anniversary is, in fact, clarity of the issues, clarity of the past, clarity of what Woodstock really stood for, and it's all going to the younger generation, whether the media knows it or not, or whether we know it or not. That's who's looking at it. And MTV's been playing it for months. And little do they know that the actual consciousness is seeping through, just as it did with the movie when it came out 20 years ago, to all the people who never made it there. So yes, we are far, 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 far ahead of our times in terms of getting over the hump, in terms of having the actual material who's going to change it, which are the young people today. They are going to change it because it's their world as well as ours. So when it comes their turn to become the trustees of it, their consciousness is already imbibed with what should happen and what will happen.
Little darling, it's been a long, long, long winter. Little darling, it's been so long since it's been clear. Here comes the sun. Here comes the sun. And I say it's all right. Yeah, 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 yeah.
There you go.
Richie Havens was just great.
Great
you
guy.
know. He was really a great guy.
Yes, he was.
Everything like that. It's well done and everything like that too. You know. Yeah, Richie. I remember it very well. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
this was a big involvement in my life.
But the idea that it could become year one, that's sort of a big idea. They had the birth of Christ is what we figure from now. With year one was the. Is that what it is? The supposed birth of Christ. The year one is dated from a major event in terms of a religious understanding of things and everything.
Oh, yes. For some, yes.
Woodstock was a major event, although I think most people think it was a good time for sex, drugs, and rock and roll, a lot of youthful energy and all that. Poor Mr. Rockefeller was our governor, and he thought that the whole world was falling. They were totally caught on the way. 600,000 people just appeared right out of the blue. in terms of, and they just couldn't make any sense out of it all. They were totally overwhelmed with everything. It was a thing, and it was just a spontaneous thing that was going through the body politic of the country and the world, that there was something going on that was major. And it would be good if one could try to understand what was there about that time, if anything, that was of a major transformative nature in terms of the evolution of things, you know.
Well,
And I think there were things going on. I always have in my work and everything, what I've been done. I think there were major things going on at the zeitgeist level that were not really to find articulation at that time, but that there was a major thing going on. And I think there's a chance in the fullness of time. Time's a funny thing, and it's got a certain dimension of its own and everything like that. But there's a good chance that humanity will come, one would hope, in a certain way of seeing things and everything, and it will become a candidate for and finally win support to be considered year one. Henceforth, from 1969, it'll be seen as year one of the new era that had dawned at that time in events other than just a great big party with a bunch of hippies. But it was something major going on across the planet, and that's something, it's not just another party in my estimation.
Well,
it's celebrating event at the large macro level that was going on the planet.
Yeah, well, in this movie that we're coming out with, which we have about 2 hours of what we did in Times Square with Richie and with that group. At the 20th anniversary.
Yeah, okay, right.
Actually, I spent, Harold, 2 years of my life before the 20th in the attempt to actually do this in Central Park, in the Great Lawn.
Right.
And
You
a
couldn't
couple
get
people.
Approval or what?
No, I got the approval of. I couldn't get the money. Henry Stern gave me a yellow light to move forwards. I was with Channel 13 at the time. PBS gave me the PBS broadcast to go live.
That's important.
I had big time stuff.
Yeah.
But what I couldn't get is sponsorship because of the sex, drugs, and rock and roll. So when I would go into major corporations, they still had that concern about, and some of the things, they were conservative, but concerning. For example, a big fast food company said to me well, what happens if we get on stage and we have our name of our company on stage in Central Park and somebody starts screaming, boo, you guys use plastic containers for your food. It'd be bad for the brand.
Yes,
just so happens, and this was going to cost me $700,000 to do this.
Are you saying to yourself?
No, the event,
Well,
to make the event in those days. You need money to do stuff in it. It's now almost $7 million to do a show in Central Park. So it's the times have changed. But the point is that a couple weeks later, they came out with the largest environmental recycling of their products, that company. So the timing didn't connect. I had other situations. We worked 2 years, went through every company in the country.
You've been in the business.
And you know, to make this thing happen. So what happened in the end is that we ended up doing it in Times Square. Right in the Father Duffy Square Park, which is where for the last 5 years I've been doing our Peace Day events. And it's a great location over there. And so, you know, we have that material, but I'm building it out into much more of a today mindset.
In
other words, this Woodstock Forever, the movie.
Days from today we're taping.
Well, that's Peace Day, but this movie, I have 20 hours right now to make into a movie. I have more than that, because Peace, Love, and Hope, which is Woodstock Forever, what the mindset from that movie and that time and Richie's thinking and everybody else. Once you hear Jumla, Jimi Hendrix drummer, and everybody else who's coming down this Friday or past Friday, whenever this Juma is coming down, and some of those people are coming down. So we're embellishing. I'm doing this show with my grandkids. You know, all these. You watch the Louds, and you watch Phineas and Gage, and you watch the Boss Baby, and you watch all these children's shows. They're all talking about Woodstock, straight on. About yeah, they're not saying the word Woodstock, but they're saying what peace, love, and harmony, and being nice to your brotherhood, just what Woodstock really did mean, and what it did create. So we have created a movie that is a big, big upper and very, very positive. And we desire to do, well, I have Good News Broadcast and Good News Planet, and I'm making it, we're making a whole TV series out of this.
Bad news.
All we want is to focus on the positive. So I'm all psyched up here.
You've always been.
We just celebrated our 20th anniversary. 5,000 shows of GoodNewsPlanet.tv.
Good for you. Yeah.
Well, good for everybody out there, and I'm just, whenever we get stabilized as far as an investor, I'll make 5,000 shows a day, because I'll set ourselves up just like we are now, but we won't be known.
5,000
shows a day, because we could become YouTube, GoodTube. There's no reason why we can't do 100,000 shows a day.
5,000 shows a day.
YouTube has what? 100,000 shows a day.
Is that true?
There's something crazy like that. Yeah,
they got. YouTube? Do you have a lot?
I have 4,000 shows on YouTube.
I got 40,000.
Plus. Oh, well, you're, what can I tell you? You have 40,000 shows?
40,000 hour-long interviews. But that's just boring interviews.
No, they're not. You're a brilliant man.
No.
Harold, you're a brilliant man, and you let me interview you one time, and I'll never forget it.
No. You interviewed me rather than me. I interviewed you about 1,000 times.
You're right, but I interviewed you once.
It's like I knew.
So maybe I should interview you right now.
Okay. Yeah, right. No. Anyway, that's really, Paul Slack is a happy guy and everything. Do you remember the biggest event ever in history of Central Park?
Well,
that would have been. Do you remember?
I don't. I think you mentioned it, and I didn't know about it.
Helen Caldecott called a meeting, and there were literally a million people came to that event from all over the world, and that was to protest atomic weapons.
A good reason.
Yeah, and they came. And the whole town was full, and they were coming from all the streets. It was just a million people, or so many. It was a major thing, and they just filled the park and everything. It was a major event, and it was talking about Helen Caldecott say about the atomic weapons, and unfortunately, what she was calling to the attention was the destructive capability of the weapon systems, which isn't a thing you want to do with a happy program, particularly because they're very, very effectively able to assert power, and everything. And they had reached the point where, from the scientific understanding of the collective capability, they had reached a period of species lethality. The weapons finally had gotten to be the point where, if they were to be unleashed in a realpolitik way in which the politics of the world go, whoever's got the biggest club hit the other one on the head and so forth, that it would mean the end of our species. And that was being called to prevent that, or to pay attention to it. And that was one of the reasons for the Woodstock Festival, because at the Woodstock Festival they were celebrating the evolving ecologically, and not exactly in the immediate political observable sense, but in the overall sense of the collective capability of mankind, or not only mankind, but the whole environment that has come up through all of the ages and so forth.
It was Earth Day. It was the first Earth Day event.
It was Earth Day.
It was Earth Day.
I forget that.
It wasn't Earth Day. That was Earth Day. That was the mindset of all the things. What you're saying is that those are some of the things that evolved out of Woodstock period of time.
Well, yeah.
The environmental concerns, so many things.
Well, the Woodstock Festival was. Yes. And that was celebrating. Helen Caldecott was celebrating. It was positive and everything. But it was definitely targeting this existential reality about capability, not the exact reality, you understand? But it was the capability that has evolved in terms of the human experience with the planet.
Well, it was a wartime. It was the Vietnam War.
Woodstock.
That
well,
was
yeah.
that was one of the big pushes to have that event. There was frustrations.
Are you
It
talking
was
about
the heart
one
of
with Helen Caldicott?
No, I'm talking about Woodstock and
Woodstock was a
and the
different
Vietnam War
Yeah,
and the
but
concerns.
Woodstock was a different thing, and that the authority figures for either the political, Republican, or whatever, all of the politics, and that varies back from one to another and everything like that. But the political establishment had come to the equation, had come to the point where it was collectively understood that there was something going on around 1969 as a major moment of transformation, and I think it'll probably live to be year one. I think it's going to end up being year one. Do you think there's a chance for that kind of a major transformation that could be occurring within our lifetime? Maybe the twilight years of you and I, but for the younger generation, that will be seen in those terms and understood and celebrated. The existential realities behind that, if you can understand.
No, I understand.
It's not Christ,
Here's-
but it's some reason to start anew in a major way.
I'm going to say yes,
Marking
and I'm going to
history.
give you a good example of why
Okay.
I'm saying yes, okay?
Okay.
I suggest everybody to go down to the New York Public Library on 42nd Street right now.
It's a hell of a library.
It's
You ever been in the
magnificent.
map library there? It's magnificent.
I don't think so, but
Oh,
they have an exhibit there right now,
Yeah.
and it's called Revolution. And they show Woodstock, and they show Hair at the Joe Papp Theater,
Yeah, right.
and they have all these sayings and all the kinds of entertainers that were at Woodstock. That's the public library. So, you know, to a certain degree, the people that went to Woodstock are now running many businesses in the world. In fact, I saw a picture one time in the New Yorker that maybe the 50th anniversary of Woodstock, everybody's going to be wearing a tuxedo. So it's a sort of it's like a different kind of a reality of independence and independent people who, you know, are thinking for the greater good of the world. So I suggest for that people, I think by the end of next year you're going to know what the Woodstock 50 years later had to do. I hope our movie has a little bit of goodness to it.
Do you
that
think it's
people
well
will
enough
respect.
understood what it might represent, other than surface things like "let's all be good" or something, or there's always been a peace group or peace-minded Thoreau and so forth. There were people who had a sense of peace. A lot of women were more that way, it seems to me, over the longer haul. But there was always that. But that there are events in the historical drama of human society that were taking place. Active, real events that were marked by changes. Like, could I suggest one or something?
Yeah, it's your show. You do whatever you want.
No, it's not my show. It's yours. But I mean, if it's possible to get,
I love Harold.
No, if it's possible to get at something other than the surface, the
I will.
razzmatazz, and
Right,
all
right,
that,
right.
by which these kind of things are considered and everything, it'd be good. But just to run a quick thing, I'm a geographer, right? And I keep track of things and everything. And I come to understand things in a very going way. I'll try to do this quick, because you're talking about New York City, you're talking about Central Park, you're talking about Columbus Circle.
Times Square.
And Times Square, but they're all close in the same Manhattan. But so we're here 200,000 years. That's pretty much closed science and everything. We understand that our species appeared about 200,000 years out of Homo erectus. We are out of Africa, everybody. Peoples had migrated around the world, and they've migrated out from Africa. We're all Africans. And they had gone all the way to the east, and some intrepid members of that thing, of that migration of our species, that's about 10,000 generations. So we're the 10,000th generation of our species on this planet. And we have a unique capability of manipulating the environment rather than just responding to it in a sense of immediacy. We can make the environment different through the use of our extended consciousness and tools, and make the world different much more than any other creature. But they had come, and there had been 4 ways in which civilization was possible in that 200,000-year sojourn. And it would depend upon getting to have a point where you have supply of food that can be controlled by you rather than collecting carrion or whatever's available on, wild status. And there was wheat and barley in the west. There was rice in Asia for the African. There was maize in Central America, in Mexico, and there was a fourth one in Bolivia. That would have been the papa, the potato, and quinoa. Those are the four major things that made possible what we call civilization, city dwelling. You had a surplus capability to provide and create your food rather than just gathering what happened to be available. Now, if you draw a map of the world, as geographers do it, I did it myself even. At the map library at the time, I'd written a paper about the indigenous people of the New World and everything, and I went there, and it was for a purpose. And at that time, there was that was going on, that you had this development that they had developed this. To the west, I mean, geographically, humanity, we're all out of Africa, as you say. They had the intrepid New Age people, the indigenous people of the New World. That would be the Indian peoples that had come across Beringia and then down into South America. They come all that way. They had come about 99% of the way around the world to the east. You understand?
I do.
We're all out of Africa.
Yeah, I understand.
In the West, particularly even after Rome or all the developments in Europe, where you had the Sphinx and the ancient Egypt and Rome. We got to Rome, and in those you always had a system where you had one ruler and that sort of thing. But they had extended themselves to the west, practically not at all. That is, humanity hadn't. They were stopped by the Atlantic Ocean. They had not moved hardly a couple of degrees of longitude to the west. And then they had gone to the east all the way around the world.
I understand.
You understand? That's a major development. And when they did, and Christopher Columbus sailed, the
I was just thinking
Columbus
when you said
Circle
that,
and
yeah.
all that, and it's New York, and there was the Columbus Circle, and he went sailing with the Pinzon brothers out of Palos, and they had the 3 ships, and the men on that ship were absolutely, totally, given the state of ignorance or whatever, or totally scared out of their wits that they were going to sail so far into the Western Sea. They had never moved but a couple degrees of longitude to the west. You understand? And when they did on October 12 of 1492, from the stern castle of the Santa Maria, the ship, there was able to be spotted a very distant light off on the far distant horizon. There was a light, and Morrison writes about it. His poetry was just an incredible moment. The men were totally. He had to put down a revolt, an act of revolt to turn back. They were scared, and it were into new territory and everything. They were extending that. And that line has a line of longitude, and this is why I wanted to sort of, in a sense, bring up our lovely city of New York, and also our library, and your work, and everything. Because that line, I very carefully did it, and it was on, Mrs. Wolper went and had a boat built. San Salvador was the island where there was first to be spotted the linking of mankind between east and west, the extensions where we all come. And that's a big major event, and they did it. And they got a line of longitude that goes down to longitude, it goes to a degree, minute, second of longitude, right down to just right to a local street level thing. And that line of longitude comes along the western side of North America, and it crosses. This is really something, but you'd be good to take. You could use it. We worked it all out. It was such fun with the lady at the map room. The map library is enormous and really rich and everything. And we worked there, and it was very accurate. We checked it all and everything. And that line comes along the eastern shore of North America, and it comes across. It crosses the East River at New York, and it comes across and is at right. That's right down to a line of. That's not just a degree or even a second of longitude. That's down to a street in New York in terms of geography. It comes across and is the exact official allocation of the United Nations of the world. It is that is their
Really?
longitudinal notification. It goes right between the Security Council and the General Assembly.
Jeez, they better not move the UN.
The United Nations is a major institution
That's
that you give support to.
yes.
I think all people do by and large. But it goes, and then it splits Central Park in half, and it goes right on up like that. But that's a major thing that is part of the New York scene.
That's
in
very
terms of
interesting.
that.
Yeah.
And that was the case. Now, that was a major event, the linking of mankind. Now, if you take that and then you say, what is a major event that could be rivaling that in terms of the human scenario in that? And you're suggesting,
I have a few.
others have, and Mrs. Caldecott and so forth, and the people who are thinking like that, rather than it was a big party, or for some, there was no reason for the people to gather in Woodstock. Was there any underlying reasons that they did? They were all hippies, left-wingers, they were all revolutionaries and all that kind of stuff. That was a real movement from the people and everything. And was there anything going on in terms of the zeitgeist, in terms of the overall situation?
The Vietnam War.
Well, the Vietnam War was...
It was anti-war.
raging.
That's why the people got together. That was a bigger part.
There's always been war.
Yeah,
There's
but there
always- you had
wasn't
the
such
First
a
World War, the
disgruntled
Second
war.
World War. No.
That was an angry war with the people. The people didn't want to be there. They didn't think we should be there. It was a real, they wanted us out.
There's a lot
the
of
people.
wars that are like that. There's a lot
Well,
of
I
wars
think
like
so,
that.
but somehow the younger
talk about
people, I guess, I didn't go to Woodstock myself. I was jumping in a pool with a tuxedo with my buddy getting married in Yorktown. I saw all these cars going there, so I wasn't
Were you
into that
sober?
mindset.
Were you sober?
No, I'm sure
Were
we
you
were drinking
sober?
a light.
Were you
We were
sober?
drinking.
No, were you sober? Yeah.
Sober?
Yeah.
Oh, jumping in the no.
Pool in the tuxedo, you're going to ruin the tuxedo. Did you take the flower off? You make
Well,
it
we were the wedding party, and it was a buddy, but we didn't know about Woodstock. We were not that. I will say we were not that
69 you're
revolutionary.
talking about?
Yeah, because I went to school up in Connecticut, and it wasn't far from that, but we didn't know about it. But I
How
think
can you not have known about Woodstock?
because I was the president of the class, and I was a
What were
goody
you- what
two
were you-
shoes,
were
and
you a
I was
right-winger?
always.
What were you, a Republican or
No, I wasn't. I'm not. I'm I am a Woodstocky person, but I just
I'm
did
playing
not.
with you, my
no,
friend.
I'm cool. All of it. I'm all right with all of it. But the point, if I would have, because I don't go to rallies, and I don't go to protest. That is not I'm the president of the class that will do politically minded and/or collaborative minded change. In fact, someone just said,
for everybody.
so Deepak Chopra or Claire Diab, who's is giving a speech about, we don't want angry peace activists. Does that make sense? Yeah, that's what Deepak says, and that's what Claire Diab says, okay? That's not what we want. We don't want to go to a place
peaceful
and have peace. We want peaceful activists.
Yeah.
But a rally
Positive activists,
normally has the potential, unfortunately, to not be peaceful.
That's right.
And so,
It wasn't peaceful for those American Indians. They've been treated shabbily right from the
I don't go
beginning.
to them. I don't want to be involved with that. So that's why I probably didn't know, because probably some people said they're protesting the war in Vietnam. Okay? And I was
Absolutely.
enlisting. My sister taught me out of
No,
enlisting.
but there was something more than
in
that.
high
I'm here
school.
to say. Woodstock,
Okay.
there was more than that. That's
Well,
another
and
thing
more
that
than
goes on.
that, and
Now, what might
we
it
shall.
be?
There was the civil rights. There was lots
There
of
was.
things going on.
That's right.
No doubt about it. Well, if you listen to the album and just as Richie was saying, I'm one of the people that listened to the album and heard some of the words of Crosby, Stills and Nash and all those people that had words to say.
Bob
Freedom.
Dylan
Or
was
Bob
so
Dylan,
much-
Janis
Bob
Joplin.
Dylan was so on the
Joan
money.
Baez. I tried to
Joan
get Joan
Baez
for
is
my
gorgeous.
show Friday.
Gorgeous.
She's doing the Beacon Theater.
Yeah.
And We Shall Overcome.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
these are, it's a very powerful time for people to be very
Well,
open.
what I'm trying to get at is, are there underlying things to all these things where we're trying to say this
Yeah,
and that
sure.
and that and that and this?
Sure.
This
How about
event or
Earth Day?
something, yeah.
And how about Peace Day?
Earth Day.
Today's things, okay? Our Peace Day event, 1.6 to 2 billion people are aware of Peace Day. And that's a
When did
McKinsey
it
and
get
Company.
Who got that going? Who started that?
The United Nations. That's why when you hit the United Nations just now with the latitude and longitude,
I support the United
thought it was,
Nations,
I thought you hit it, it was a perfect lead in to the UN Peace Day.
Yeah.
Or the UN Happiness Day, or the UN, all their Water Day and
Yeah, but
things.
why 69 for crying out loud?
Well, back in
mean,
60, I don't know. I was in the pool.
Was there anything going on about six? There is in the form of intellectualism that goes on in the world and everything. Some are major people who've thought about things in a major way and all that kind of stuff. There was something, there was Buckminster Fuller, who is a major. Don't you agree? I guess, I don't know if you've cotton on.
No, I studied. I got a master's degree on Fuller and McLuhan, and you know
Really?
that. I got.
You did? You
I went to.
McLuhan.
Oh yeah, and the Beatles. I went to Fairfield. I got a master's, and that's what we studied. Those kinds of things.
Yeah, McLuhan. Yeah.
All your kinds of people we
But
studied.
Fuller particularly,
You knew them.
yeah.
I studied them.
Well, some. So, but they were major, and they were feeling. They're taking a measure of things, all kinds of things like everything. And Fuller did. I actually did a program with Fuller. He was one of the major guys. I had a thing in '74, way back when. But Fuller had a feeling for that year even. And it wasn't based on peace, love, and rock and roll.
It was based on
what? It
what?
could have been with him. He was a very peaceful guy and everything. But he was taking a measure of things. And he did, in his writing, said he thought in the fullness of time, and I agree with that in the fullness of time, when humanity catches up with itself, rather than running down this political idea or that political idea, or the rest of the fighting that goes on, when they get themselves in order, and they get a system which is worthy of the future and all that kind of thing, that is going to be figured from 1969 as year one.
Wow.
And he was depending upon certain events that were taking place that were underlying the significance of that. And that thing there was practically no PR for 69. We were there. I was living in New Paltz that time, sister community to, we had a commune.
Right.
My wife and I, and the kids were running around and all that. And there was all these people. And we went from there to Woodstock. And
hop, skip, and a jump.
Woodstock was New Paltz College, where I was at faculty, was a sister community to Woodstock.
Right,
Rosendale, Woodstock, and New Paltz. Those are three communities that are one. Saugerty.
Yeah, I know that
That's
area.
one area. You know what I mean? So Woodstock, and the premise there was Bob Dylan, and he was there. Well, that was feeling, and that's a year one. There was something major going on, and it was just in the air, and it was being felt, and word just got out, and realized that they had to go down to White Lake because they couldn't get, and all that and everything, and it was it was all sort of put together and everything. They tried to put up fences and all that stuff, and that finally all came down.
All that stuff.
And when they did, it came 600,000 people. 600,000 people, all hippies, left-wingers, everybody. They came in their millions, right? And it was just word of mouth.
So,
and they came from the east, from the west, from the north, and the south. It's like something out of the Bible.
So let me give you some good
saying?
news here, Harold. Here's the good news.
And we want to get around to what it was about that time that was blowing in the wind.
Well, I'm going to give you something to right now. That's
and
today.
I got thoughts on that, but I'll let you give me some.
I just want to give it to you because there's 2 billion people that know about Peace Day. Okay?
Is that a fact?
Yes.
Okay.
McKinsey and Company did research. It was 1.6 billion as of last year.
Yeah.
So let's figure it's grown. It's all the countries in the UN, okay?
Yeah.
We do an event. People are going to be doing events all over the world. I'd like to show what we just did in Times Square. Because we're going to run out of time. We'll never get a chance to show it. So, and it has some UN involvements in it by far.
Fine. Let's do it.
It's the UN International Day of Peace.
We're talking with Paul Slatkus, a great guy who's really a man of peace, and we ought to listen to this young man. He should get all the support he can get. This guy, Paul Slatkus, SLADKITSTB.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
There we go. UNESCO's the World Peace Day. Okay.
My name is Ringo. Peace and love, everybody. Peace and love.
I'm Dr. Oz. We have an obligation to provide a peaceful world for our children.
We've got to work much harder, no matter what country, religion, or culture.
Peace is the most precious possession we can achieve. The opposite of peace is the wasting of life, bloodshed, and arriving at no solution whatsoever.
Today is September 21st, the day that all countries of the United Nations declared as International Day of Peace. Today, we strengthen that UN message and have created a Peace Day party event and broadcasting it live to the world, our human peace sign symbol. Let's celebrate each other. Life is a gift. Have a party. Have a Peace Day party. Listen to over 50 nonprofits and individuals who share their thoughts to help educate children.
You're watching the Peace Day, global internet broadcast celebrating the United Nations International Day of Peace.
Please sing along to these well-known peace and love songs
September
with the
25th.
words on the bottom of the screen.
A moment of silence for peace. I'm going to have my moment now. Ooh, I feel good.
World peace. World peace. World peace. World peace. World peace.
The word peace has many possible meanings.
The UN now.
And the Messenger of Peace program has been vital to addressing some of the most pressing challenges of our time head-on. Poverty, disease, human suffering, issues which defy the very concept of peace.
So today I want everyone here to commit to join the quest for peace. Go forward in the struggle for peace with passion and compassion. The future of this world is in your hands.
And I have this unbelievable Tibetan orphanage in Himalayas. And this is really unbelievable children. We are born with compassion.
We live in a world in which many of those who are born poor will die poor. And it is up to us to be the first society to eradicate poverty and bring justice and equality to the most disenfranchised people on earth. Now is the time to not just imagine, but do. Imagine all for people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. Perhaps someday you'll join us, and the world will be as one.
The sun will come out tomorrow, so you gotta hang on till tomorrow. Come what may. Tomorrow, tomorrow, I love ya. Tomorrow, you're always a day away. Tomorrow, tomorrow, I love ya. Tomorrow, you're always a day.
go.
That's wonderful. That's inspirational. Yeah. That's well done. You put that all together.
Yeah, a lot of help from a lot of friends.
You've been pushing that peace thing for ever since I've known you, you know.
17 years.
You're a peacenik.
Shucks.
Look, you're wearing a tie with a sunshine.
Well, because it's a Save the Children tie, and I've worn it for 40 years, and it says, Peace on Earth, and Risa, age 10 years old, drew it.
Yeah, right.
So it's seen every Peace Day event that I've been involved with.
Yeah, well, good. So you got another one coming up and everything.
So, yeah, so since this is airing after, September 21st.
Are you optimistic for the human prospect then?
Well, I am more than optimistic. I believe that I, as the Little Prince would say, see things rightly. The world is at peace.
Oh, wait a minute. Go ahead. It's a given, you say, right? Yeah.
But it's not. It is what it is. Most of the world is living in peace. I'm not saying they're living perfectly in peace. I'm not saying that they have a glass of water, and I'm not saying that there doesn't have fear in their bodies. But they are more than likely not the ones that are punching somebody in the nose or putting a bomb on someone's head. So I like to think of the world as a world peaceful place, and that we have a few, and this is what Richie Havens taught me in 1989. He gave 10%. He said, I'm going to give 10% for the warriors in the world, okay? The real warriors that'll chop your head off and steal and hurt. So this is my mathematics, okay? 8 million people, 10%, 800 million people, leaving 7.2 billion peaceniks.
I'm trying to get that. Say it again.
I'm going to say it again because I think it's a big, good thought for humanity.
Yeah, okay, good.
Okay?
Yeah.
This is a good thought to not look at the front page of any newspaper, not the, Richie Havens gave the 10% worldwide peace. Yeah. At that time, there weren't 8 billion people, but as of now, there's I'm using 8 billion as the amount, 7.8, whatever we have now. Yeah, right. Easy mathematics. 10%, we say 10% of people are thieves, or murderers, they're bad apples in the bushel, okay? However you want to think of them. Say we said 10%, that's 800 million. There's not 800 million. It's a ridiculous amount of number, okay? There's only X amount of this and X amount of this. You go through the countries, there ain't 800 million. So that leaves 7.2 billion. Why don't we strengthen the message that 7.2 billion people are peaceniks? And why don't we all believe that the world is living in peace? Because it is. And if you can show me more statistics that there's 5 billion people that are fighting and beating people up, I don't know anybody beating anybody up. I'm lucky, maybe. I don't know. Most people don't know anybody, and if they do, maybe they know one person. If they know one person, or know one person that did it when they were a young boy or something. You know, I'm going with the world as a peaceful place, and I'm promoting that. That's my show, is to promote the world. Good News broadcast, Good News Planet, is to focus on it.
Good news as it is.
As is. There's no fake.
Right?
The reality television. That's reality, in the way I see it. And I think I can get 1 billion shows a day.
1 billion shows a day.
Yeah, people, let them just put it on Good News.
Oh.
Whatever they want, just say what they did nice. They woke up. That's nice.
So they can't, but all the news is bad news.
Well, there's some good within it.
There's no good news.
Well, they have a purpose.
Fighting.
Purpose. I'm a former CBS and PBS guy.
I know.
They have a purpose that if you have a half an hour, I'm not denying that it's not important, I'm saying it is important. I don't care about even the product. But it is important to know there's a rapist on your street, and it is important to know that there's a gun in the neighborhood. So I'm not knocking the news. It's just a reality of a 24-minute television show, and the way they are able to send cameras out there is that they have to pay for the cameramen to go out there. Yeah. So I'm not knocking the news. I just think we need better alternatives.
Better in what we call news?
Well, all news, yeah. I think news should give more solutions, more solutions-oriented news.
More shows called Good News.
Yeah, they can. They can all have good news.
You have a trademark. Is that why you got all that? Nobody else is saying
no, I gave this card to Ariel Huffington, and a couple weeks later they had a good news section. Now I hear New York Times has good news. Let everybody have a good news. I'm okay. I don't want any monopoly.
Vincent Peale used to say that. Remember
Well, you know, that's how I started, right?
With
My
Robert
mother gave
Vincent
me,
Peale?
yeah, my mother
Not
gave me,
kidding.
my
That's
mother's a
small.
librarian at Temple Emmanuel here,
Yeah, yeah.
and she gave me Reverend Norman Vincent Peale's book, The
Yeah,
Nice Jewish Boy,
yeah, yeah.
and I didn't read it because I was a stupid little kid and that protested his mother saying, read, 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 and,
You didn't
but
listen to your mother?
no, I read the cover, but the point is, you know.
Read the cover on your mother. That is
I've
really-
interviewed 2,000 authors. I didn't read any of their books.
Mark, that is not a winner.
I know people say I should never say that,
You
but
don't tread on mother for crying
no,
out
no,
loud.
I love my mother. My mother's magnificent. No,
Yeah,
she
sure.
no, she was very
My
understanding.
mother was the best mother.
My mother was as nice as your mother. Okay.
Yeah.
All the mothers. In fact, we're ending our show with "I Love My Mama" by the legendary Intruders down in Times Square. I love my mama because I love my mama. I like my dad.
The show coming up on Friday.
On Friday,
From
the
now.
one that we're
Is
going to
that
miss
the
on this
20th?
broadcast, 21st.
21st. We're not
21st.
going to be able to play this program.
I know. So
people.
everybody,
We're not
go
gonna
to
build
go to
any
Good
audience.
News Planet, but you can see it on goodnewsplanet.tv.
Yeah, you're not.
All right.
Yeah, that's and for the ages because it's not.
And you're going to see
You're not
because
going to get any. You're not
I
going to
keep
get
the
any crowd.
I keep the shows on forever.
Yeah, right.
So it's all good.
Mhm.
We get for so that's one good thing about Good News.
So
It's evergreen.
Yeah.
That's why you can have 40,000 shows because Harold, you don't put a bad news show on your air.
The hell I haven't. I put a lot of bad news.
No, you don't.
Practically everybody I know is.
No, you don't. You inform people. You educate people.
Well, that doesn't matter.
That's good news.
Yeah.
No, that's good news to educate people. You might not be happy about things, but you're not punching people in the face. Every show you've ever done was good news.
I'm not going to punch anybody in the face.
No,
I
but
think
I'm saying
everybody should have
you're
their own
good
voice.
news. You're a good news broadcaster. When you interview people,
My mother thought I was.
well,
I don't know
you.
about the rest of the world.
I'm
My
telling.
mom
I know
did,
you are.
you know,
I
yeah.
know you are.
Yeah. Well, I get. an
You've
awful
helped
lot-
many a person get a chance to share what's going on in their life.
Well, I think it's a good idea to get a lot of ideas out there and to everything like that.
Yeah,
you
well,
know.
you're a teacher. You're an educator.
Well, yeah,
That's
yeah.
your being.
I think the media is going to become very, very much more important than it's been. You know, when we were young, there was no. You're younger than I am by some and everything. But when I was young, little, there was no such thing as television. Didn't exist. Did not exist. We had radio, but there was no television. They didn't have the invention of television.
Television
Like-
soon's not going to exist. You're going to have
Pardon?
this.
No, in that short period of life, it's come to that, and every's got these now.
Yeah, this is world peace. Because everybody can. It has the potential. Because this is you don't have to be you don't have to pretty much buy too much to get there. You got to buy a phone, but this message can go all over the world. One number you can have, you can be anywhere in the world. They can call you. One, you can be on the Himalayas. Two, you can show a program.
That's a major thing, yeah.
And if all the countries accept it, unless a country forbids the signal, everybody can watch a YouTube show. And so the potential of hopefully good producers saying good things, and it's not just a few that are on the television because the main numbers, but cable, there's good potential here, and everybody finds their community of whatever they're speaking about.
Are you? Maybe it's not fair. It's a question I've asked a lot. Are you optimistic or pessimistic for the human prospect?
I'm 1,000,000% optimistic.
Oh, okay.
It's perfect today. We just need a little tweaks here and there. We're all lucky. Anybody that's breathing, God bless them.
You've been born into this time. How would you like to have been born into the 6th century? I mean, good God, can you imagine any time in
the 6th century is the 500s?
Well, yeah. It was...
you remember those days?
No, you can't. That's a pretty bad record. But what I'm saying is that I think the real collective, there's a thing called synergy,
Okay.
And it seems to be operative in string theory and everything else, understanding the physics. But there's 100 trillion cells in a human organism. 100 trillion, that's a big number.
Who counted them?
Well, they're getting close, Kaku and other people getting close to what the number of cells in a human organ. There's liver cells, eye cells, it's all resonancy between and there's a synergy between them. There's a and there's something more than the sum of the parts of a system maximally engaged. If it's not maximally engaged, then you've got illness or something. But if it's maximally engaged, and there's so many people of the how many are there now? 7 billion? Or what is
I think it's 7.8.
Yeah. Anyway, there's so many people.
Another kid right now.
That aren't able to realize anything like their maximum potential because they're in utter grinding poverty. In fact, that's the multitude of the world. Most of the people in the world are living in
2 billion, they say.
poverty.
Yeah, it's
and
mismanagement. Mismanagement. It's a mismanagement for humanity.
Well, it's not only mismanagement. We didn't have the means to be able to do that. We couldn't do it. We couldn't have anything like that until we got at least agriculture and other kinds
But
of
now we do.
we could do
Now it's a disgrace.
Yeah, but the leftover of it is the legacy of that is zero sum, and zero sum still holds for everything. That is that within a system where there's not enough, there's scarcity. For one to win, somebody else has to lose. So you got winners and losers, and then you got a political guy who's going to do this and that. Winners and losers in that. And they got a dialectic like that. And what you want to have is a thing where within an organism, you've got a synergistic of a healthy organism, whether it's you've got a synergistic resonancy between something like 100 trillion cells operating in a maximum way, are going to realize something different than what you've been able to do out of the past. And we've been limited to the degree in which there can be 100% interpretation or involvement of the whole of humanity. So much of humanity is just grinding in poverty, and we don't pay enough attention to how we can solve that problem. And so there's a problem, and the weapon systems that exist again have since about 1970, the same time we were getting to understand that in terms of our capability, collective understood capability, we were transcending scarcity in terms of our capability of providing. So the excuse that in order for one to win, somebody else had to lose, that's been the pattern for the world. So you have a few people in the castle. Most of the
but it's history. It's history.
Yeah,
Today
we're
today.
still living in the
We're good.
Wait.
History's old. Today's the present. That's why they call it a present. And the future's a mystery. We're going to be okay. We're going to eat. We're going to feed everybody. We're going to get our act together properly. So? Yes.
Okay.
I'm a grandfather. I can't mess around. I can't send my kids to some stupid gathering of fighter bees.
We were born into the time when that is possible. Never any other time in history has that been the case. We were always limited in terms of our capability.
There's no need.
So we get to the point of maximum involvement, like guys jamming. Do you ever jam? You jam?
I'm a musician. I jam all the time.
Jam all the time. So when you get to a certain point, or in anything, a maximally engaged entity is one that is there. So we have to go. Paul Slatkus is our guest, and Paul Slatkus is so good to have you here, Paul. So good to see you.
Great seeing you.
As usual, we'll talk. Keep doing with the good news network that you're doing and everything.
Thank you.
I hope the event comes off really magnificently.
It shall. Any shape, size, or form.
Thank you.
PeaceDayParty.org. That's the event.
It's a party on Peace Day, folks. Let's all go. Okay.
Times Square. Join us.
Times Square.
Or anywhere else you are, anywhere in the world.